really underdog, but not because of the title, only because of the title or money. But I really wanna fight him because I wanna test myself against him. You know, I'm really excited to do this. I really think I can win. I can like shock the world. I can make everybody surprised.
You feel it. You really.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm a solve. I don't know. Can fight him 5 rounds and beat him by points. But I don't think nobody can beat him by points. You know, so I think that the easier way, like not easier, but the less hard way is knocking him out. I think it's boring. You know, I don't like watch fights at all. Like striking fights or some of friends, of course, I like to watch. But especially if there's some grappler fighting, I don't like to watch. I like to watch like people's getting knocked out. I'm ready to fight. Can't wait to fight him, and I will knock him out. I promise everybody. I promise you, people's in Brazil. I promise you, my coach. We're gonna change of everybody's life, and I will bring that belt to Brazil. I'm ready to fight. Can't wait to fight him, and I will knock him out. I promise everybody. I promise you, people's in Brazil. I promise you, my coach. We're gonna change of everybody's life, and I will bring that belt to Brazil.
Carlos Prates claims that he's next for Islam. Claims he was told, "You will be Islam's next opponent. You're fighting for the world championship." Signed a new deal. Signed an 8-fight deal. I mean, Prates gave us a lot of information. It would be unusual if in the process of giving us lots of information that he slipped something in there that wasn't so. But it's also possible that there was a misunderstanding.
Fascinated with Islam at 170 because I think it's going to be a lot tougher for him. And so now we're going to really truly see who he is. He's already proven himself at 155. There was really nothing left. Yes, there was another Arman fight. And yes, we wanted to see the Ilya fight. And I would argue that I probably wanted to see those fights more than any other challenge at 170. But now, him versus Carlos, him versus Michael Morales, him versus Shavkat, maybe a rematch down the line against Ian Gary. Sign me up. I can't wait to see how it all plays out. And so who are they going to go with? They had Carlos there. They had cameras on him. They did the split screen with Michael Morales and Carlos Prates. I feel in my heart of hearts it's going to be Carlos Prates. I feel like...
Yeah, I hope. I mean, it's so hard because like after Ian lost, he was almost like, I lost. Like I felt like he survived. I don't know. I have like a weird mixed emotion about like he survived, and I felt like he didn't give it. It's kind of hard for me to say this, right? It's almost like I never forget when I fought Dominic Cruz. I left it out there. I was fucking battered, beaten, fucking face was all swollen. Yeah. I gave it my all. Like if I could, I just really, I guess you say, laid it all that on the line. Like, I'm going to try to...
Realistically, how do you think a fight between him and Islam would look if he was the next one?
It's a very dangerous fight because he's an extremely explosive, striker that knows how to use his range really, really well. And I look forward to the challenge. So if that's who they pick, I look forward to it. And let's see how well he does with the takedown defense. And let's see how well he does with Islam striking too. It's like everybody was thinking that Islam had to take Ian down. Well, it didn't quite work out as well as people thought, did he? He hit him with a beautiful kick. He hit him with some decent strikes, So it wasn't like he had to take him down. It was the best option, and obviously it doesn't take a scientist to know that with Prates is always going to be the best option to take him down. So it's a matter of, we're going to stand with you, and if you give us the right opportunity, well, we could take you out, but ultimately we want to take you to the ground and let's see how well you defend. And then when we get you down, let's see how well you're able to get back up or reverse us. So those could be the telltale signs of what's going to happen if we do get that fight.
History says, with only 2 exceptions to this, history says if you were the backup fighter, you were then the fighter in your next match. Everybody that's ever held down adequately, meaning they got licensed, they train, they hit the scale and made it. Anybody who's ever done that, 2 exceptions, is next, and I think that Morales is going to be next.
Carlos Prates just made one of the boldest promises in recent UFC history. He's going to knock out Islam Makhachev and bring the welterweight belt to Brazil, cementing himself as the first Brazilian world champion from his generation. But here's where it gets interesting. Javier Mendez, Islam's head coach, immediately fired back with a brutal reality check that completely dismantles Prates' knockout promise, revealing the game plan that has neutralized every challenger thrown at Islam. And that response exposes something deeper about this entire matchup that nobody's talking about. Prates walked into the interview ready to go to war verbally. He said he's ready to fight Islam, can't wait, and he promised everybody, the people in Brazil, his coach, everyone, that he's going to knock Islam out and that fight is going to change everybody's lives. He acknowledged Islam has good kickboxing, but then made his declaration. He said he's much better and he's excited to test himself against the champion. The confidence is real, and Prates backed it up by claiming he was already told by the UFC that he's next for Islam, that he's fighting for the world championship, and that he needs to sign an 8-fight deal. He gave away a ton of information in that interview, and if he slipped in something inaccurate, that would be unusual, but it's also possible there's some misunderstanding. Islam and Javier Mendez responded to all this with complete indifference. They said they don't care who's next. If it's Prates, great. If it's Morales, great. If it's SHVCat, great. Bring them on. The message was clear. Islam doesn't fear anybody, and Islam's team doesn't care who the UFC picks. They just want to fight the best available competition. Mendez emphasized that they're pound-for-pound #1, so they shouldn't be afraid of anyone, and they're not. Islam will prepare for whoever steps into the cage exactly like he's prepared for everyone else. Respect every fighter, but fear none. But then Mendez went deeper. He admitted these guys, Morales, Prates, SHVCat, they make him train harder every single day because they're real fighters who can give Islam real fights. They're tough guys, bigger guys. And the welterweight division is the most powerful division right now. But when Mendez was asked directly about Prates, his response was absolutely devastating to the Brazilians' knockout narrative. Mendez acknowledged that Prates is an incredible fighter, but he used Ian Gary as the comparison point that changes everything. He said just because Prates had a fantastic knockout against JDM doesn't mean it's going to be Islam. He's a different fighter altogether. And that's where Mendez exposed the entire weakness in Prates' approach. Prates fights strikers. He loves knockout power, and he had a spectacular striking display against JDM. But Islam is not a striker in the traditional sense, at least not one Prates will be able to exploit. Mendez made it crystal clear that Prates' recent knockout success becomes completely irrelevant once the fight transitions to the ground. And the real question is whether Prates can withstand Islam's relentless pressure, the takedowns, and Islam's elite ground control. Mendez even pointed out what happened with Ian Gary. He said Islam didn't just have to take Ian down because everybody thought he did. Islam struck with him. He hit him with beautiful kicks, decent strikes, solid offense. But when Islam saw the right opportunity, taking Gary down was always going to be the best option. So Islam's strategy isn't just grappling. It's stand with your opponent, feel out the distance, throw combinations, and the second he sees an opening, Islam uses his superior wrestling and control to drag the fight to the ground where his opponent has zero answers. That's the formula that works against every single welterweight on the planet. And Prates hasn't faced anything close to Islam's wrestling level or ground control expertise. Now here's what makes this even more dangerous for Prates. He admitted during the interview that he doesn't like watching grappling. He finds ground battles boring. He doesn't like watching fighters go to the ground because there's no action. He loves striking, knockout power, explosive sequences. That's his bread and butter as a viewer and as a fighter. But he's training more grappling now because he knows that's the key to Islam. He's training with strikers and he's drilling wrestling. But his heart isn't in it the way it is with striking. That psychological disconnect, disliking what he has to do to compete with Islam, could be a massive problem when he steps into the cage. Because Islam doesn't care about Prates' preferences. Islam will box him if it's there, but Islam's real goal is to get him to the ground and test his takedown defense, his ability to escape, his ability to reverse, his ability to survive. That's the template that breaks Prates. Prates tried to frame his dislike of Islam's style as an advantage, claiming he's found openings to expose Islam's takedown game. He said he can catch Islam when the champion is striking. He acknowledged Islam's kickboxing skills are solid, but then he declared he's much better. But that's where the overconfidence shows. Because Islam doesn't need to be the superior striker. Islam just needs to be good enough to set up takedowns, and that's exactly what Islam is. When Ariel Helwani put Prates on the spot, asking whether anyone can survive 5 rounds against Islam or if a knockout is the only viable option, Prates didn't hesitate. He said the only way to beat Islam is to knock him out. He said you can't go the distance with him, that nobody can beat Islam by points, so the quote-unquote less hard way is knocking him out. He put all his chips on one outcome, finishing Islam before the final bell. But that's exactly what Mendes wants to hear. Because if Prates is gambling on knockout power and Islam survives the first 2 rounds, Islam will systematically dismantle him on the ground. Now the contender question gets even more complex. Chael Sonnen weighed in on the chaos surrounding who actually gets Islam next. There's discussion that Prates claims he's been promised the shot, but there's also Michael Morales, who has an incredible win at Madison Square Garden and might already be locked in as the next challenger. Sonnen questioned how Prates suddenly became the next contender. If Prates really has secured the fight, what changed behind the UFC's doors? Sonnen said he has no problem with Prates. He's awesome, powerful, dangerous, massively popular with fans. But he doesn't understand how Prates is suddenly next when Morales was supposed to be the contender. There was even the infamous Dana White lip-reading moment where people thought Dana told Morales, "You're next," after his massive victory at MSG. But here's the real issue Sonnen raised. Michael Morales is in the backup spot for the Islam versus Ian Gary rematch. If anything goes wrong, if Gary or Islam has a weigh-in issue, Morales is stepping in on 24 hours' notice to fight for the title. And history shows that backup fighters almost always become the next title challenger. So Morales isn't just a contender, he's the designated next challenger unless something changes. That raises a legitimate question about whether Prates is truly guaranteed the shot he claims he has. Sonnen believes Morales is closer to next than anyone, and history heavily favors the backup fighter. So the entire welterweight title picture is chaotic right now. You have Islam saying he doesn't care who's next and wants to fight all of them. You have Prates confidently claiming he's next and that he'll knock Islam out. You have Morales waiting in the backup spot, ready to step in on short notice. You have SHVCAT lurking as another dangerous option. And you have analysts and former fighters disagreeing on who deserves the shot and who's actually guaranteed it. The core story here is that Carlos Prates believes he has the power to finish Islam Makhachev and make history by bringing the belt to Brazil. Javier Mendes has already issued the counter-narrative that Islam will box him, set up takedowns, and expose Prates' ground game, which is nowhere near elite enough to handle Islam's control and pressure. Chael Sonnen has injected doubt about whether Prates is even the right choice, suggesting Michael Morales might already have the inside track. And the welterweight division is increasingly chaotic, with multiple elite fighters all positioned to challenge the undefeated, seemingly unstoppable Islam Makhachev. So the real questions are, can Prates knock out Islam before the champion drags him to the ground? Will the UFC actually give Prates the shot, or will Morales get the call? And is Islam truly as dominant as everyone believes? Or is there a stylistic matchup in this welterweight division that can finally expose a weakness? Because right now, Prates is betting everything on knockout power against a champion who has neutralized every single strike-heavy challenger that stepped into the cage with him. And Mendes just explained why that bet is likely to fail.